Antes de começarmos a apresentação de Hot Topics in Smart Grid, do professor Ebrahim, eu vou pedir a vocês que assinem essa lista aqui. Depois a gente vai usar para a prestação de contas do I3E. Aqui tem uma camisa.
Isso é via I3E?
Essa apresentação está sendo apoiada pelo capítulo de potência aqui do I3E do Rio e tem o apoio financeiro da seção do I3E. Tá, eu vou mudar para o inglês para o professor participar da conversa. I was telling them that I would change for English because you need to participate in this conversation.
Thank you so much.
So, first of all, thank you very much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure. And I will read your biography and then you can start the presentation, okay?
Thank you.
So, Dr. Ebrahim Vaahedi, Vaahedi, is it correct?
That's correct.
Okay. He's an Associate Vice President at Open Access Technology International, where he leads smart grid solution development. He has over 30 years of experience in different segments of energy industry, specializing in the development and execution of technology strategies for utility industry. Dr. Vaahedi joined OATI following his prior position with major Canadian utility as Chief Technology Officer, where he was accountable for developing and executing a consolidated technology plan. Dr. Vaahedi is a fellow of IEEE, has authored many publications, including a recent book in modern power system operations entitled Practical Power System Operation. Presently, he chairs IEEE both Power System Operations Committee and IEEE Smart Grid Publications Committee. So, Professor Ebrahim, thank you very much again. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
And the presentation is being filmed, so if it's possible, try to stay around here.
Sure.
And speak up.
Thank you, sure. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lima. Professor Lima has been very kind to host me here today, and I know he spent a lot of time organizing this presentation. Thank you so much for that. It is great to be in Brazil, very nice people, and I'm honored to be here today. I know Dr. Ricardo, he has been apparently my classmate at Imperial College, so it is great to see him again, and it is a pleasure to be here with you guys. I have about 40 slides today, and I had planned to spend about 1 hour in my presentation. So since I am available beyond 1 hour, so it's up to you. If you want to ask me questions, I'm more than happy to stop and answer any questions that you have. So with that, let me start my presentation. Okay, so before I start, I just have a disclaimer here. I want to tell you that what I'm going to present just represents my own opinion. Right now, as Professor Lima mentioned, I am...
Please go ahead.
Okay. So, as Professor Lima mentioned, I work for a company called Open Access Technology International, which is based in the US. It is in Minneapolis, USA. And I'm also an adjunct professor at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada. So what I'm saying here is that what you see is the presentation. It is purely my own opinion. It does not represent necessarily the opinions of the companies or the entities which are associated with me. So with that disclaimer, I have today 4 messages for you. First of all, I want to talk about the evolution of distribution system. And the first one is why? What is happening? What are the drivers and business requirements? Why is that happening? And then the second one, I want to talk about where we see the distribution system moving to. So that is my second message. Now the third message is that I want to talk about a few what we call hot technologies in distribution systems. And then finally, I want to talk about IEEE Smart Grid as a reference. I want to talk about it. I have 2 slides that I want to cover. So with that, let's start on the drivers and business requirements. Why is the distribution system evolving? Why? Why all of a sudden things have started evolving? So this was good old days. So what was happening before was that the generation was central, like here. It used to be. The generation was central. It was coming through transmission. It was going to the distribution system and was consumed there. And then on the left side of me, you can see the voltages: 500, 230, 160. Used to go to the end customer, 120 volts or whatever volt it is, 200 volts or whatever volt it is. And then it used to be a very organized way of, system. And then you had interties. You were connected to other utilities, exchanging electricity. Now what's happening is that now what happens is that now you have all of these distributed resources which are positioned in the distribution system, and now generation is coming back. And you can see that now things are not going to be the same anymore. The distribution system was not designed for this purpose. Things have changed. Now, why is this happening? I haven't told you why it is still happening. Look at the left side of the screen. These are different reasons to why distribution system is going through an evolution. Climate change. There is a lot of discussions about climate change. People don't want fossil fuel generation. Carbon reduction. There has been technology advancement. Consumers don't want to pay too much money anymore. They are demanding cleaner energy. You have energy efficiency. A lot of places are thinking about energy efficiency. Building automation and net zero energy. Buildings now, like microgrids, they want to be completely self-sufficient so that through the year they don't pay anything. Net zero. Cost reduction. Solar and battery storage, the prices have gone down dramatically. Now, these are the reasons. If you go to the right side of the screen, regulators have responded to that. So you can see that some countries, like Denmark, they have said that in 30 years will be 100%. It's a standard. They have selected that standard, that we will be 100% DER. No centralized generation anymore. No fossil fuel. No nuclear. We will be purely DER in 30 years. Now, look at Hawaii. They have said that 100% in 30 years will be DER. Look at other states in the US. All those green, they show different states with different standards they have picked for themselves. Now, a standard means in 30 years, they have to reach that. So, for example, in average, there is something between 35% to 40%. You have all of these different states that they have said in 30 years, we are going to convert to that. So, there are these requirements on the left, and then regulators have responded by saying, okay, you have to meet these standards. And that's why the distribution is going through this evolution. Now, let's define what is DER. I know a lot of you guys know this, but let's define what is DER. DER is clean and renewable distributed generation. So what is clean and renewable distributed generation? They are like solar PVs, they are wind, but in this mix, there is also CHP, combined heat and power. It is a gas unit, but somehow it is part of the clean and renewable distributed generation. Distributed storage, demand response, we'll define what is demand response, and then energy efficiency. All of this is part of the DER. This is where would the DERs going to be located. The reason I showed this is to point out two areas. This is what we call behind the meter. There is a meter here, and then these are behind the meter. It is on the customer side. And then there is front of the meter, which is just on the feeder, which is not behind of the meter. So these could be on either side. It could be behind the meter, or it could be in front of the meter. Now, I mentioned that the prices have been falling. I mentioned as one of the factors. Let me point out a couple of things. This curve shows the price of the solar PVs. In 30 years, it has come down from $76 to 0.30 cents. So it has come down by 250%. 250 times. This curve shows the price of a storage in 10 years. It has come down by 4 times. So, and this curve shows the price of electricity compared to the price, the levelized cost of the electricity in different states in the US compared to the price of the solar. Now, it makes sense not. What this curve is trying to say is that the price of solar is becoming cheaper than the price that they pay for electricity in many of these different states. So now, if you buy, for example, a solar panel and put it on your roof, you are paying less electricity price than if you were to buy electricity from the utility. I'm still in the stage of why this evolution is happening. I haven't moved from that message. This curve, this one shows the PG&E. PG&E is one of the utilities in California. This shows in different years. This one shows 2014. The yellow and the orange colors show the amount of solar installation. And you can see that in 2000 and whatever this is, I suppose it's 2025, you can see that there will be a lot of solar generation planned. Now, what would happen to the load in that area? You can see that because of this solar, because of this green line, which is solar generation, the actual load will look like this, that it will be 0 during the day, and then it goes beyond the installed capacity of the generation, existing installed capacity. Now, if they use a storage, then what will happen is that they don't need to do anything else. So this will be their load curve. So this shows what will happen to their load curve. With all of this solar that they are going to be having, if the way to manage that is to put some storage so that they can manage their curves, their load curve. Now, there is intermittence. As part of the renewable resources, there are some resources like solar and wind. And this curve, by the way, all of these curves you see belong, I have got them from different places. And there is reference to where I got these from. So for example, this curve shows what portion of the DER is intermittence. And you can see that Brazil is somewhere here as well. I noticed that, in different years, what percentage is going to be intermittent. So what percentage of what they have is going to be intermittent. And this is a care by God, and this intermittence will create quite a bit of variations in the electricity price. For example, this curve is the German power prices fluctuations with sun and wind. So what it is doing, this intermittence, to the German prices because of all of this. Okay, so a couple of other slides on what impacts these will have on the distribution system. So now, if you assume that you have now electric cars, that they come into the system, and for example, this is, let's say, this is a single phase customer. These are just end customers. They are going to be charging their electric car, and this is the capacity of the distribution system. During evening, they are going to go beyond the limit. And in the morning, these guys will go to work, and this is a commercial feeder. So in the mornings, they go to work, and you can see that again, here they go beyond the limit and congest the distribution limit. So this is just the impact of electrical cars. And what would you, now with the solar that we have, you can see that because there are solars in some systems, it is going to cause reverse flows. Because now what we have, there is some, you are generating so much solar that there is going to be reverse flow in the distribution system. Now, this is again another curve that we have from the California market. And what it says is that during these different years, with the amount of solar that you have, this is going to be the load curve that they are going to have. So this is right now the load curve in California. Now, this load curve, they call it duck curve because it looks like duck. So what they say is that with all of the solar during the day, as time goes by, there is a low portion for this curve, but all of a sudden, as the evening approaches, it is going to be reaching a peak. Now, the problem with this is that you need a steep ramping to go from a very low amount all of a sudden to a huge amount, 8,000 megawatt of ramping required. And that will create a lot of problems for electricity prices. That because now all of a sudden you have to have generation prepared for this to have, so all of a sudden the electricity prices in these areas will go up rapidly. And what they have to do is to resort to either demand response or storage to be able to bring these load curve and flatten it. Okay, I finished with my first message. I started by saying today I want to talk about 4 different messages. The first message was, why is the distribution system evolving? So I spoke about it. There are lots of different reasons. There is climate change, there are prices, there are clean energy, consumer needs, and so on and so forth. And I showed what implications this new DER solution is going to have on the distribution system. So we finished with that. Now let's look at what will happen to the distribution technology in the next few years. This curve is taken from a report which was written for the Department of Energy by a guy called DeMartini and Christoph. So this is you can find this report. It is available on the internet. It is written for the Department of Energy. And what he says is, depending on the amount of DER penetration, utilities are going to be doing one of these 3 things. If you have low DER penetration, which is a lot of places, a lot of utilities, what they will do is that they will start investing on a smart grid. They will start investing on advanced metering infrastructure. they will start investing in a smart grid, and they will start investing on aging infrastructure. So that's what they will do. Now, as you move, this is called the stage one. Now, as you move to this one, now all of a sudden you find yourself that you have a substantial amount of DER penetration. And what they do here is that they are going to have to look into DER integration and optimization. So now you have to start working on DER integration, how you want to integrate them, how you want to connect them and optimize them. The third stage, which is far away, it is when now all of these different entities want to start exchanging, transacting between each other. And this is another market which will happen in the distribution system. Like the same electricity market that's happening in the bulk system that you have in Brazil, in California, and everywhere. Now then what will happen is, this is the market which will happen in the distribution system. But this one is a few years away. This is not happening yet. Now, let's look at the technologies. Let's start talking about the technologies. Now, in the past, we have always had distribution SCADA. Distribution SCADA has been around for many years. And then came basic distribution automation. What is distribution automation? So if this happened, reconfigure the system. If that happened, this is called distribution automation. The lines automatically open, feeders automatically close. Then we have basic distribution management system. Distribution management system is used for reliability. It is used for outage management. It is used to know exactly where the outages are, which lines, how they can reconnect all of the customers and all of that for reliability purposes. And then we have advanced metering infrastructure. I'm sure you guys have in Brazil right now advanced metering infrastructure. These are the replacement for the old meters that we have. So now there is advanced metering infrastructure, meter data management system, and all of that. So these are basic technologies. The second level, we are now talking about demand response management system. I'm going to talk about this in a couple of minutes. But now there are new systems which are called demand response management system. Microgrids. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me go to this particular curve, which is very important. Now, historically, we have had two systems for distribution system. This was distribution management system. You had outage management system. You had your information from GIS, DMS, distribution management system, distribution SCADA, and so on and so forth. And you had this side. On this side, you had advanced metering infrastructure, data management system for that, customer information system, billing and settlement on this side, and these are your meters. Now, one new technology is coming in the middle, and that new technology is called really distribution energy resource management system and demand response management system. Now, there are differences here though. You can see that here you have to connect to the end devices. Now you have to connect to the DERs, you have to connect to heat water tanks, you have to connect to batteries, you have to connect to your electric charger, and so on and so forth. So now things are going to be different. So this is going to be the new really distribution technology. So I finished with my second message. So I started by saying, why is this happening? Then I went back and I showed this curve of what is going to be the evolution. The evolution is that in the beginning, there is going to be a lot of some expenditure on the smart grid and aging infrastructure. Then they have to spend money on the new DER management system because you have to do DER optimization. You have to integrate everything together. You have to manage them now. And then eventually there could be a distribution market system. So I spoke about these two and I have finished my second message. Now what I want to do is I want to go to my third message. My third message are, I want to talk about a few examples of hot technologies. So maybe at this point, I want to take a pause and answer any questions that you guys. So let's move. Let's move to the third message that I want to have with you guys. I'm going to talk about four different technologies that they are hot technologies in distribution system. Demand response, grid services, IoT, SCADA, and microgrids. And please ask any questions you may have. So let's start with demand response. So what is demand response? Demand response is changes in electric usage by the end customers in response to either a time of high prices or when the operator wants to reduce you for any reason. So they come back to the end users and they say, we want to cut you. Either because the electricity prices are high because you are at the peak, or because the utility doesn't want you to consume because of some reliability problems they have. Now, what is happening is that either way, you get paid for that. So it could change. You can change. The level of your consumption can change. To the timing, it can change the time that you want to reduce your consumption. They may just ask you to reduce it by so much, but then they pay you. And DR reduces consumption or shift it from off-peak, on-peak to off-peak. Demand response is more cost-effective than adding generators to meet the peak and occasional demand spike. So demand response is much less expensive than adding new generation. So this is a technology that it is right now mature. This is very mature technology in distribution system. I was visiting a utility about a year or so ago in a conference, and I was giving a presentation, and the head of that utility came and he said that we have managed to control our electricity by shedding loads discriminately. So let's say today you shed that substation, tomorrow you shed that substation, and he said we have managed to do that. That is what we have done to be able to manage control. Now look at this one. Let me tell you the difference between this one and that one. This one says you go to your customers and tell them, I'm going to deactivate your hot water tank. I'm not going to cut your electricity. I'm just going to deactivate your hot water tank for 4 hours. And you have hot water, but you don't have it for 4 hours. I'm going to have your car stop charging for 4 hours. Or I want your car to charge for 4 hours. That is very different from just going to a substation and disconnecting. Can you see the difference between intelligent shedding and unintelligent shedding? The utility guy, the operator, said in that conference that we have managed our load and generation by cutting load, shedding load at different times. Look at this. Can you imagine how much more smart this is compared to that? So what will happen now? I mentioned, so now what you do in this system, you go and register customers. You go to these different customers and say, you have a hot water tank, you have this, you have that. I want to register you for this program. Let's say I go to this neighborhood, I go to Copacabana, I go to this neighborhood, and I register everybody. And then, when I need electricity, I have two-way communication with their devices, hot water tank. I can storage system, their battery charges. With their DERs, if they have DERs, I can control those. And then at the time that I need, I can manage these. I don't need to manage it every day. But when I need it for reliability reasons, or when I need to manage the peak, I do this. Now, the core here is that you have to have two-way communications secure, and you have to have gateways that talk to these and control these. Now, this is a solution. Yes, sir.
One question. Recently, I submitted a paper that involved a new system of tariff in Brazil called tariff flag. And the idea of this new system is to create incentives. One of these ideas is to create incentives to reduce consumption in periods that we don't have water in the reservoir and things like that. And one of the reviewers said that the incentives gives in terms of price or tariff or penalties are usually effective for a short time. Have you heard something about that? Because for a long time people forget it. People start to consume again as before.
Maybe the electricity prices here are good. If the electricity prices are high, a lot of utilities in the US are implementing this. Because instead of adding generation, they use this method. And this is right now, they have it. They are using it. Now, this is an example of what you can see. This is the map that they see, the operator sees. And then these are all of the loads that they are participating in a demand response program. And then the operator decides to initiate this. And all of these customers have demand response activation. All of those have their hot water tanks or something activated so that they don't consume anymore. So the operator activates it.
Okay.
So now the operator says, go and deactivate the hot water tank. Go and do this. So now, because he needs that electricity, you can see what customers all of a sudden have been activated. Okay, so this was one technology. This is a real technology. It is working.
And why it was activated in a small region and only
Because
there?
they only needed it there.
Okay.
Maybe there was congestion in that area.
Okay.
Maybe in that area, they needed only to activate it in one area because there was congestion or they didn't have enough generation for that particular area. Okay, so that was one technology. Let me talk about the second technology. The second technology, we call it grid services. Now, let's say that this is a distribution utility. And this distribution utility has all of these DERs and loads and everything. So first of all, what they do is that they use these systems to manage their load. and they make sure that the voltages are okay. But beyond that, whatever they have, it can go to the transmission system. It can go to the big, bulk generation. And what we can do is that we can build from DERs which are here, different products. Now these different products in the US are called ancillary services. So they are frequency response, regulation. Now let me explain these two. So automatic generation control is something that controls frequency in the big system. So when you are watching, let's say, the soccer game between Brazil and Italy, all of a sudden in the middle of it, everybody gets up and go make a cup of coffee. Electricity shoots up. Automatic generation control is there to balance generation and load. How does that work? They send a signal to a generator, a fast-acting generator, or a bunch of fast-acting generators, and it will respond increasing generation. But what that means is that you have to allocate 2 or 3 generators or more in the big system to be sitting there waiting for signals to increase generation. So what that means is that if you have a lot of these, you can create signals for frequency response. So if here, this big system needs, all of a sudden there is a match between Brazil and Italy, and in the middle of it, people go and make coffee, and they make a lot of electricity, you send signals from here to these loads saying, I'm going to cut your load. And I need now, because I need generation, I'm going to cut your hot water time. I'm going to stop your batteries from charging. I'm going to do this. I'm going to ask your batteries to discharge. Your car battery to discharge. And that creates what we call, now you don't need any more AGC generator. And this is called grid services. This is not a theory. This is not a theoretical thing. This is a news clip, February 2017. Hawaii Electric trials with OATI grid solution. This is the company I work for. So, Hawaiian Electric is one of the main utilities in Hawaii. They are using regulation instead of going and allocating huge generators. We are responding to these signals with this system. Can you see where this is going? We don't need big generators. You have a lot of these that you can control. You have your battery charger. There is a battery charger which has a control that connects to your battery. You can remotely tell it to charge or discharge. Your battery is sitting at home and it's charged or half charged. You say to it in the next 2 minutes, I want you to discharge. And then in 5 minutes, charge. You control it. And it goes up and down. And at the end of the day, you are okay. Your battery nothing happens to your battery. You are supplying this electricity from the batteries the cars which are sitting at home. And we pay you. You are supplying this from the electric tank. Your electric tank, we are just stopping it, and you can charge it later. We are using other DERs that you may have. We are controlling them. And this is happening right now. This is a bulk generation distribution utility.
In terms of percentage, how much energy is controlled during Give 5%, 10%.
In,
Have an idea.
I'm sorry, say it again.
In terms of percentage, how much energy is controlled, effectively controlled?
By this system,
Yeah.
it all depends. It all depends how many customers register for this.
In this experience, do you have any number?
In this particular experience, there is only a segment that they are prototyping. Because you have to register all of the customers, you have to control, give them gateways here to connect to these systems so that you can control them and all of that. So probably less than even 5%.
Sorry, this kind of mechanism, are you doing that just in small scale?
Yes,
In
not very small, but small. This is for a utility because they want to see if this is successful, then they expand it to the utility. Because this is a very cheap way of using the DER. I showed in the beginning of the presentation that Hawaii is going to be 100% DER in 30 years. 100%. So they are looking at using the energy, they are looking at using ancillary services, a spinning reserve, non-spinning reserve, regulation, AGC. They want to use everything they can. And they are going to expand this beyond a trial. So right now it is a small scale, but once it is proven, then they will expand it.
in your opinion, the main challenge would be the regulation, to set the right regulation, the tariff design, and so on, or the technological part, to investment in the grid and so on.
I think by regulation you didn't mean this regulation. You mean the
I
actual
guess it's regulation system.
regulatory,
Yeah.
the policies.
Yeah.
I think the first, the regulatory policies. Once that is decided, I don't think the technology is a challenge.
It's good, but it's the prosumer example, right? It's a prosumer example, that the consumer, the end consumer, is selling energy to the utility.
Yes.
Okay.
So for example, you register, I register you.
Yeah.
And I say to you that I want to use your hot water tank and I want to use your battery charge, the controller.
Yeah, but I only give to the power and you give it back later, or I can.
No, I pay
money?
you.
Yeah.
I pay you. I pay you. You buy electricity from me, but I also pay you.
And this one, okay. And this about the different price, because my energy, if I generate it by photovoltaic cells or panels, the cost to this generation is different than that I bought from the utility, because it's a cold generation. So is it balanced or only is an average price?
Those are tariffs. Those are tariff issues that can be resolved.
Okay. Thanks.
Professor,
Yes, sir.
this grid solution is like a software that works in the smart meter.
Yes. No, not a smart meter. It doesn't work inside the smart meter. I'll show.
Okay.
In a minute, I'll show.
Professor,
Yes, sir.
one more question regarding these demand regulations. Is this, there will be, it's possible to have some two ways, I mean, instead of the operator deciding to use one of your devices, the client can, I don't know, see, oh, the price is too low, I can change my loads and something like this.
They can back up. They can. They can back up anytime they want. So, but you know, I think these, what you are saying, can be designed. It depends on the utility. It could be price-based or it could be operator-based. You know, it all depends. So these can all be designed. But the whole idea is to supply. Let me just go back to my slide. This is different. So here now you are supplying these services to the main supply, to the main transmission grid. Bulk electricity generation. You are going back all the way here to supply these services to them. You are not anymore supplying it to your distribution utility, because you supply your electricity energy to this distribution, and they make sure that you have voltage, you supply the load, but then now you have extra generation that goes to this bulk electricity, and then you can supply these other ones that they are 10 minutes reserve, 30 minutes reserve, regulation, frequency response, balancing energy, capacity, and all of these you can supply with proper control. And I showed you that this is not theoretical. This is happening. It is not, I'm not here to tell you something that I'm dreaming in 20 years. This is the demand response. Many utilities have already implemented this. Many utilities, and they continue. They register different customers, and they play with them, and they just say, okay, now I want to enable this. Either I need you for reliability reasons, or I want to shave the peak. And they do it. Now, this one, the grid services, is new. But again, this is something that they are doing. Now, to do both of these, we need something new. As I mentioned in this graph, to be able to do this, you need a different breed of a SCADA. Old days, we have a SCADA that talk to RTUs, remote terminal units. You measure things. And here in the AMIs, you are connected to all these smart meters and all of that. You need a new breed of a SCADA that you can also talk to the end customer devices. So how can I connect to the hot water tank? How can I connect to the battery charger? This is called end customer. You need a SCADA. We call it IoT SCADA, Internet of Things SCADA. You need some SCADA that you can now connect to. So to be able to use demand response or DER management system, this is the software. One of you guys, a gentleman asked if the software will reside in the smart meter. No, the software is called Distributed Energy Resource Management System. This is the one that controls how you can connect with all of these, sell and buy. So you need obviously communication system, secure communication system, but also you need a gateway to connect with all of these. So to be able to do DER and demand response and use control devices and other distribution grid asset edge devices. So you have to, in order for us to reap the benefits, utilities need to connect to the end devices. And this IoT SCADA provides utilities with edge device visibility and control, enables demand response and distributed energy resource management to improve reliability. So you need a SCADA system. And this is the third hot technology that I'm talking about. So the IoT SCADA, this is theirs, this is the software. This is the one that not only connects to the conventional systems, but it now can connect using a gateway to all different end devices. So now, conventional system we had was DMS, OMS, SCADA, distribution SCADA. We had AMI and last gas data. We get it from AMI, and the call center was connected to this. Now the new system is going to look like this: that you have a DRM solution in the middle, you have OMS, DMS, grid services, and then you have SCADA, distribution SCADA. Now you have to have an IoT SCADA. I finished 3 technologies, which I think they were hot. They're hot technologies. Let's move to the last one. The last one is microgrid. People, when you think about microgrid, let me first show one slide. This was the conventional system. This is your university, let's say. This is Catholic University of Rio de Janeiro. What you do is that you get your electricity, and then you also have some diesel generators that just, God forbid, if you have a problem, you will from the grid, disconnected from the grid, you will turn on all those diesel generators and it will run for a while so that your system is up. Now what is the problem with this system is that grid is the main supply. You will become self-supply under emergencies, and then as the load increases, the distribution system becomes congested. The utilities have to upgrade your system. They have to spend a lot of money. So you have congestion and you need upgrade. Now, there are 2 different concepts here. One of them is reliability, which is the ability of electricity to be able to deliver electricity. The second one is resiliency. Resiliency means if you fall, how soon you can get up. How soon you can bounce back, restoration. This system was old system. Now let's see what will happen with the microgrid. The microgrid will change the paradigm. What we'll do is that this will generate. You only connect to the grid, or you only use the grid under emergencies. The paradigm is completely shifted. Instead of just using diesel generators here, you always use the generator. And you connect to the grid when you need more electricity, you want to buy and sell. So the paradigm has completely shifted. And this one, because now you are generating, and sometimes you can get from electricity from grid, it's a lot more reliable. You will never go down. It is more resilient, and you can also help the utility for restoration. If they go down, they want to come up, you can help them. So let's start with microgrid. Microgrid, according to the Department of Energy, is a single controllable electric entity that can connect and disconnect from the grid. It's a bunch of generators and loads work as a single entity that it can connect and disconnect from the utility and operate independently. It can have variety of generations, but you now need a software in the middle which works as a management system, orchestrating the operation, optimization. This is the company I work for. This is their new head office. It is a microgrid. They just built it, and we are moving there. It is not a fictitious story. This is in Minneapolis. They are generating electricity, self-sufficient. It has CHP, gas turbine. It has solar. It has storage. It has wind. net zero. At the end of the year, they can claim that they didn't buy anything, they didn't sell anything. Everything is balanced. Designed to be that way. But what can we do with this? You can now optimize it when I say that you need a system to optimize it. What you can do is that these are off-peak times, these are on-peak times. What you can do is that now you can buy from the grid when it is cheap, and you can sell to the grid when it is expensive. You can optimize your electricity. You can increase your revenue. And this is one mode of operation. That's the building, and this is how it can be operated. You can participate in utility programs, demand response, DER scheduling. So if your utility wants you to participate in the demand response, you participate in demand response. You change your generation depending on what utility wants from you. They want you to generate for them, you generate for them. They want you to consume, you consume. They want you to participate in a bunch of DERs for them, you do, because you get money from them. Or you can go and participate in an electricity market. A microgrid can go and participate in an electricity market. And what I said, microgrid management system that you have, the brain, the software, can do all of this. So it doesn't come free. You have to have a software. You have to have a what they call microgrid management system to do this. To either participate in an electricity market, you can do this, you can manage your resources, optimize your resources, and sell and buy from the utility, or you can participate in utility programs, or you can participate in an electricity market. And these are energy market, capacity market, these are ancillary services, and so on and so forth. Now, that microgrid management system, it has different layers of technology. Because you have to design it so that it can manage, it has protection system. If you all of a sudden are islanded, the system has to be able to return your voltage and frequency to an acceptable level. And this is this automation and control. You have optimization. You have other solutions to facilitate to participate in a market. So the technology which goes there is quite a technology. So the microgrid needs to have a layered set of technologies to be able to make sure that you islanded and synchronized, to be able to make sure that you are optimizing and controlling, and to be able to make sure that you can participate in markets and utility programs. Now, they say that this curve shows how microgrids are rapidly increasing, and this curve shows revenues which are going to be in the microgrids, and this is showing the growth of microgrids all over the world. Now, I finished with my third message so we started by saying what's happening in the distribution system. Then we discussed what is the roadmap for distribution system? How is it evolving? And then I spoke about 4 hot areas of hot technologies. What now I want to finish is one other area, which is the IEEE Smart Grid. Now, what I showed you is what's happening in distribution system. One reference that it is available is this IEEE Smart Grid. IEEE Smart Grid was first initiated as a separate section or separate area at IEEE. Now it has been brought into power system operation. If you type on Google IEEE Smart Grid, you go to this page. There are thousands and thousands of resources available on the, what I was talking about, on a smart grid. And you can go to this website, and if I just Googled it last night, and this comes up, that there is a webinar happening on May 4th, or maybe this was yesterday, May 4th, and this was, you can register for this, I don't know when it is, or it's actually happened yesterday. So DER, where to start with who and so on. So there was a webinar happening, and there are lots of resources here that and it's free. You don't even have to be a member of PES or IEEE. You can just go there. There are a lot of resources. If you are interested in one subject, you can just type microgrids. It comes down with all sorts of documentation in microgrid. Anything I spoke about, demand response, DER management system, anything I mentioned, you go there and type there, you have a bunch of references there. Presentations, webinars, very beautiful, recorded webinars are there. Now, if you go to this one, if you go to this guy which says newsletter, I'm part of that committee, by the way. I'm part of the IEEE Smart Grid committee. If you go to this, I am responsible for the newsletter. And you can see I am the chief editor of the newsletter. So every month we publish 4 newsletters. And these newsletters are 600 to 800 word articles that people write on the latest technologies or in a smart grid. And these are, the way they are written is such that people can read and understand. Not too much mathematics, no equations, very clear. People write, and every month we publish. And I really invite you to go there and be interactive. Read these and write articles. Please consider writing articles and read these articles. There is a lot of resources here. And a lot of people, we have bi-weekly meetings, IEEE Smart Grid Committee. People join from all over the world. There are, so a lot of people from all over the world are members of this. And this is a fantastic resource for people who are doing research and development and anybody else who wants to know about smart grid. Yes, sir.
Professor, another question. You said that Hawaii has this aim to be DER independent in 10 years, maybe?
In 10 years.
10 years.
30.
What?
30 years.
Yes.
30.
Because this is maybe a little bit ambitious in order, when I think in batteries. I mean, you have to have a kind of storage evaluation, that kind of operation. I mean, how's at first, how's the prices of batteries right now? As you see in a long-term time, and how the community see that kind of technology, because batteries have a lot of concerns. First, the cost of installation, after the maintenance and operation, and in a last analysis you have the environmental impacts. This is my first question. The second one is, what kind of challenges you see to the power system expansion and its planning when you are supposed to be more dependent of it? Because for example, in Brazil, you have also a lot of big power plants unexplored yet, like big rivers in the Amazonia, and also, I mean, the planner and also the government has the challenge to be more supportive to this and make policies to this new kind of technologies or not. Maybe you have a lot of roads to follow. This is my two questions.
Very good question. Thank you. Let's talk about your first question. Do you know what is Tesla? The car. There was a car in the US which was $120,000 US. 100,000, 120,000, the luxury version, and then $80,000 less luxury. All of a sudden, they announced, I don't know how many months, they're bringing a car out which is 40,000 US, Tesla. And then California or other states give $10,000 rebate. So all of a sudden you have a Tesla which is cheaper than any car in the US. And that is because of the confidence they have in the battery technology. So Tesla, they did tests on it, and different cars got different grades, different scores. This car 70, that car 80, that car 90. What do you think the score of Tesla was? Guess. What was the score for Tesla? For how much? Give me a figure. 99. They brought 104. They went beyond 100. Tesla is a car that the score that it got was 104. Whereas other cars were 70, 80, 60, 80. That car company has now produced the car, and in the first 2 weeks after they announced it, they sold 400,000 cars. They say the valuation of Tesla is bigger than other companies, all other auto companies in the world. And you're right. I mean, in the short term, there could be challenges with batteries, but the price of batteries are coming down like that. And if you have a standard saying that in 30 years you are 100% DER, this year you have 5%, next year you add another 5%. So they have to deal with it. Now, you ask your second question. It's a very difficult. So you are saying that planets, they had very difficult time planning transmission, generation, distribution. All of a sudden now they have these DER. You have to have very clear policies to guide them. Otherwise they will be very all over the place. So if you have clear policies like Hawaii, that you will be 100% this, or if you have clear policies that in Brazil, in 30 years, you have 30% DER, they can focus on other things, but still it's going to be much harder than before. Because now you have DERs located in so many places. You have centralized generation, alternatives may be happening in Amazon, this one, that one, and you have transmission options, you have distribution. It's very difficult. It's even more difficult than before. But at least you have to have clear policy and a standard. So this really brings me to the end of my presentation, and I want to re-emphasize the messages that I gave. I just want to wrap it up with 3 different messages. The situation today, there is lots of DER penetration, and it's going to happen. And they can create tremendous amount of opportunity and can significantly impact distribution system performance, planning, and design. And that was your question. It can significantly affect planning and design, operation. So that's for sure. It is changing everything. It's changing the picture. But they can also be source of a lot of opportunities. Path to the future distribution system. Distribution system evolution goes through 3 different stages. Present stage, or very low levels of distribution, DER penetration, some expenditure on the infrastructure, and then the other phases for distribution management system and so on and so forth. And then the example of valuable technologies, there are emerging technology solutions which provide high values. I mentioned 4 of them. There are a lot more. And with that, distribution technology implementation needs to be done strategically. Now let me talk about that message. You can't go out and just say, okay, I'm going to implement this and implement that and implement that. You have to be very strategic on what you are going to implement. Yes, sir.
We can see the benefits of the technology, of course. This is something that is really interesting to be applied, and I guess in any system. But in many cases, the utilities earn money. The revenue is associated with the power flow through the network. And in certain way, it reduces the power flow through the network. I imagine that utilities are happy using this technology if they can control everything. Because if they do not control, if you create a microgrid that you don't have control of it, maybe you are investing in a transformer or transmission line or something that is not necessary, because as you don't know what happened with the microgrid. Based on your experience, can you say that the utilities are happy with this new technology, or what do they
No,
do
I
to
think
solve this problem?
it depends. When you talk about microgrid, maybe they are not happy. Because you're right, I think they lose some of their revenue from electricity. But at the same time, a lot of utilities own microgrids. So that could be a source. In some countries you have a lot of developments, and they say to the utility, just give me electricity. They have to upgrade the distribution system that they don't have. Now, on the other hand, if they say, if there is a new university or new hospital or anything, they say as part of your cost, build your electricity supply. The utility is happy to help them and happy to manage it. They are in the best position to manage the microgrid. But the investment comes from somewhere else, because many utilities don't make so much money. So what they can do is they can say, okay, if you are developing a university, build your own power system. We manage it for you. You pay us, we manage it for you. Because they are in the best position to do that. And yet they don't have to pay for upgrades. New models, new business models. Now when you talk about theirs, those are the utilities that can make money. They can have solutions that they can buy from all these DERs, bring all these DERs to provide different services, to reduce their cost. So it depends on the technology.
And the second question, I guess it's not totally answered. The question, it's about the storage system. Seems essential in this new reality. Yeah. We know that the battery and the storage system is not eco-friendly.
No.
But we need to, I don't know, to compare it with other huge investments in other areas. For example, if you are building an hydropower, you need to
Displace people.
yeah, exactly, and the transmission system and so on. This is the best answer for
Absolutely.
this question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering that.
Okay.
So I think that is, I think that really is my last slide. Yes. And